and welcome to a Minnesota Banking Minute. My name is Jay Tambardino with the Minnesota Bankers Association, and today our special guest is John Streff from Vantage Point, and we want to talk a little bit about password security, what makes up a good password, and everything kind of associated with those passwords going forward. So, John, just in a nutshell, can you tell us what makes up a good password?
Sure. Well, thanks, Jay, for having me on today. I appreciate it. So, that's a really great question. Now, password security comes down to length and complexity, but mostly length. So, the longer a password is, the more characters someone has to guess correctly to gain unauthorized access. Now, you may think that a crazy password such as exclamation mark, dollar sign, ampersand, asterisk, %5, for example, is secure because of its complexity. And if we're talking about humans manually, randomly guessing that password, you're probably right. Nobody will figure it out. But the modern reality is that attackers will often use computers to guess passwords at astounding rates of potentially hundreds or even thousands per second. And with the ability to guess passwords that quickly, it really doesn't take long to go through every possible combination up to and including that correct password. So that would be called a brute force password attack, going through every combination until you get it right. So this tells us that we need to use longer passwords to mitigate the risk of brute force attacks. So what about if we used a long word, such as dictionary, as our password? After all, it's nearly twice as long as the previous password that we mentioned. It should be far more secure, right? Well, there's actually another kind of password attack known as a dictionary attack. In this kind of attack, a hacker can use a list of words, almost like a dictionary, and rapidly attempt to use each one of those words as the password. So if this list happens to include your password, no matter how long it is, your password can be compromised easily. So this shows us that length alone is not enough when dealing with common dictionary words. So we need to come up with passwords that include both length and complexity, but that are still possible to remember. Because if you can't remember it, not only will attackers not be able to access the account, but neither will you. So a good example of a long, complex, memorable password might be something like blue rug under desk, one exclamation mark. It has uppercase, lowercase, a number, and a symbol. Also, it's not just one single dictionary word, and it's possible to remember it because it's like a phrase. So you might even want to think of it as a passphrase and not a password.
Now, I've been in a couple banks recently that they've created their passwords so strong that they've started to back off on some of the complexity. In this case, they made 21 character minimum passphrase. Um, it is still upper lowercase alphanumeric. Do you think that special character really does need to be in there if the passwords are that long and complex?
If they're that long and complex and they don't have if they're not just a single common dictionary word, it should be okay. The main thing that we want to do for password security is avoid the common dictionary words and have it long enough that it can't be brute forced easily.
Good. So what's the best way to control these passwords? I mean, people make long, complex passwords, and how do you remember them?
Well, we need to remember not to write passwords down because this gives someone else the opportunity to maybe find the piece of paper that you've written them on or find the Word or Excel document that you've saved them in and then use them. So if you're implementing best practices and using a separate secure password for each account to limit the effects of an attacker discovering one of your passwords, it could become overwhelming to try to remember them all. So the best way to handle that is to use secure password management software, which securely stores all your passwords in the cloud using a single password that you remember, which is often called your master password. So these password managers even allow you to access all your passwords on all your mobile devices. So they're very convenient and they're secure as well. And there are several free password managers available online, such as LastPass or Dashlane, and they're really easy to use and definitely provide a lot of security and manageability.
So is there anything else we can do to protect online accounts? They seem to not have as strong a password criteria as we can force on our network computers.
Sure. So, aside from using strong and unique passphrases, it's a good idea to implement two factor authentication wherever you can. So, this adds an extra step to the login process, which makes it more difficult for hackers to break in. For example, how this works might be after you type your password, you have to open an app on your phone to get a 6-digit code to type into the application. So, without both the password and access to that mobile app on that phone, it's not possible to log in. There are two factors of authentication. So, this means that even if your password is discovered somehow, your account is still protected because of the layered approach that you have taken towards security.
John, thanks for your information today. This has been very educational. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for your time.